Hello, gorgeous.
While we conquer polio in space, what have we done about the devil? Hello, loyal viewers. Welcome to a joint collab review with our wonderful guest host, which is Harlow Harlow of Cosmetics and Classics.
Hello, hello.
So thank you so much for joining me. You have such a vast knowledge of everything vintage and classic. And one thing I want to ask you before we start is, where did you get your love for older films? It's not very popular these days. A lot of people our age won't even watch a black and white film sometimes. Where did your love of classic cinema begin?
The tale is, my mom took me and my sister to Blockbuster one day, RIP, and I was just like browsing, going through like the aisles, and I just saw a VHS of Gentlemen for Blondes, and I just saw Marilyn on the cover, and I was like, I'll watch that.
Yes.
That looks fun. And then I watched it, and I was like 5 or 6, and I just like from then on, it just like a light bulb click. I found God. Yeah, you just kind of have to research, find something that sounds good to you, and just start watching.
Well, that's a perfect segue into today's topic, which is help, please. I'm trapped in small private elevator. 1964's Lady in a Cage. That lady,
and she sure is.
and that lady is one of cinema's most famous stars, Olivia de Havilland, which I know her from Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
And she played, was she like Ashley's wife in Gone with the Wind, I think?
She was Melanie, yeah.
Melanie, yes. So that was in 1939. You cut to now 1964. The world of cinema is changing. The world in general is changing. And that's very much what this movie seems to be about, is the changing world. You know, certain parts of America are very scared of that.
Yes.
The movie was directed by Walter Grauman. It stars Olivia de Havilland as Cornelia, the debut of James Caan and Jennifer Billingsley. James Caan, I know him from Misery. Misery is one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. And of course, Elf. He's the dad in Elf. I believe he passed away last year.
When I was watching it, I was trying to think of like, have I ever seen like a young James Caan? And I never have. And I was thinking those are my two references, Misery and Elf.
Raphael Campos as Essie. And there's also Ann Sothern, who played Sade the Hustler, who I really enjoyed her in this movie. I want to get into her a little bit, 'cause I don't know if I've seen her in another film before. She's giving me Liz Taylor vibes.
Actually, watching it, I was like, she kind of looks like Elizabeth Taylor in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf.
Yeah,
like, I wonder.
thought they were trying to recreate that a little bit, like that vibe.
Yeah, it gave that kind of like glamour, like a woman you could tell who was like glamorous and kind of let go, but still hasn't fully let go of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like she had her prime, and now she's hustling on the side to make ends meet. And last but not least, you have Jeff Corey as George.
I caution you, do not see it alone. See Lady in a Cage with somebody you can hold on to for dear life.
What is your initial impression of the film?
So I went into watching this movie knowing probably what to expect from it. It falls into like that quote unquote hag horror genre that happened after whatever happened to Baby Jane.
I've never heard that term, the hag horror.
Yeah.
Was that through like Baby Jane?
A little bit, yeah. If you're really interested in learning more about that, highly recommend my friend Be Kind Rewind's YouTube video on whatever happened to Baby Jane. Goes very in depth into the explosion of that like subgenre during that time. Like, let's make use of these like actresses who are quote unquote past their prime and put them in these like very over the top horror films that were not the same.
They weren't Gone with the Wind.
They weren't Gone with the Wind. They weren't Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
This wasn't Cecil B. DeMille by any means.
No, it wasn't even Cecil B. Demented. It was just.
I've read that the reaction to this film very much was negative, especially in the reaction to seeing Olivia de Havilland in what people thought was a low role for her as far as going from the glamour of Gone with the Wind. And someone even, I think, quoted was she'd rather be a monster than forgotten. It's definitely telling about what Hollywood still thought of older women and not giving them proper roles, even though they're probably at the heights of their acting talents.
And it's sad because it's just like all these women who made these films, like Betty Davis, Joan Crawford, Olivia de Havilland, Barbara Stanwyck, Shelley Winters, Tula Bankhead, like amazing, iconic, talented, could have gone on and on and on forever till the day they died, and most of them did. But it was never, after like a certain point, the same level of films that they deserved.
Mm-hmm. Basically, what I thought about the movie was it was definitely like completely reactionary to what was happening to the time. I think it showed us things that were kind of important and things we deal with today, but I don't know if they necessarily meant to show it in that way. I think the movie was trying to show that, isn't the world being so deprived now, and aren't these young people so dangerous, and aren't we just losing our luster for decency? But I think that the movie kind of showed also too that the people that are holding on to that like whole, make America great again vibe is also a big part of the issue.
Yeah, no, totally. I think their intention probably was what you were saying, like, look at these hoodlums, like the kids are wild today. Whereas I think it could be revisited as like an allegory for like, yeah, like look at like kind of almost like Parasite in a sense, where it's just like these like the world is unraveling and here's this like old woman perched up in her big mansion looking down on everyone. For me personally, I don't think that they're going that deep, but I think that it definitely could be revisited as such.
I love that comparison to Parasite, because Parasite's like a thing that, like you said, is almost like it's the have and have nots. They're going into someone else's house. But I love that Parasite humanizes the people who are lower class, and this movie completely villainizes lower class people. Villainizes alcoholics, young people, weed smokers, you name it. So we can start at the beginning of the film. Olivia de Havilland, who is Cornelia, who is living with her 30-year-old son, and they are very close.
Very close. Too close.
Yes. Immediately, I was like, wow, she's talking about going to like the most romantic cities in the world with her son.
I was like, oh, this is some Tennessee Williams ishery. Like,
I don't know if they were trying to do a reverse psycho vibe and trying to analyze that, but it was definitely some mommy issues in this film from a lot of different characters.
Oh my God, yeah. Mommy issues, which I feel like in horror, especially if like the woman is the villain of the piece, like there's some mom issues there, like just without a doubt.
But Cornelia had recently broken her hip, and so she has a small private elevator, I have to say it like with her grandness. That immediately told me that she is wealthy, because that is not just like, a little chair to get her up and down the stairs. That is a full-on elevator put in her house. I mean, that's gotta be
temporarily. Like, they make that known, like it's temporarily in the house. Like that's how much money this woman has, that she can temporarily install an elevator and probably take it out. Like that's moolah, that's dough, that's Ray, and that's me.
Basically, her son is going off on a trip. He secretly leaves her a note that he hopes she reads once he's gone. He's gone, and while she tries to go back up in the elevator, the power cuts out and she is trapped. She plays it pretty cool, she's like, oh, okay, it'll come back on in a minute, I'd probably be like a little antsy already because I'm a little claustrophobic. I don't like that.
I would be her. I would be like, okay, give it a second, things happened, and then after like 5 minutes I'd be like, I'd just be writing my will on the wall.
And the emergency bell, which rings outside. There's different places outside that this bell is ringing to be noticed by the police or someone to help her. And instead of tracking help, she starts to attract some of the shady characters that live in the neighborhood. I feel bad. Throughout the whole film, they're just referring to this man awfully as the drunk wino, whatever. His name is George. George hears this bell, goes to her house and sees all of the riches, all of the wine bottles, especially that she has, and he can't help himself. He has to get some of the wine and steal some of her stuff, even though she knows he's in there and she's asking for help, and she's like, what the hell?
She does not care. She's like, I don't burn the kitchen down, but before you do, can you get me out? I'd be like, let him not think that I am fully gonna like scream and yell the minute I get out of here. Like, let me just be like, hi, sweet little prince. Hey, bestie.
A hustler named Sade, he tells her about how there's this house and got all these riches, but he needs her to come with him so he doesn't touch the wine, so they can focus on stealing the good stuff. Sade, I'm in love with her immediately. She's my kind of type of lady.
First of all, always love a female con artist. Always will, always have. Is that problematic? Maybe. Do I care? No. Like, she's so good. And also, to say what you said earlier, like, I want to visit more of Anne Southern's work. I've only seen a couple of her films here and there. More of her, like, older work. I never saw anything that was when she was, like, in her prime. Something I know about her from a documentary about another movie star called Linda Darnell was that, like, they did a movie together and she was supposed to be the bigger star and Linda was, like, up and coming, and they fully, like, lessened her role to up Linda's part. So it just kind of made me like, oh, like, at one point she was meant to be, like, a bigger movie star, maybe. So, I don't know. I want to learn more.
She's definitely really talented, because I honestly think that this role, and maybe even the role of Frank, you don't really need them in this movie. I was thinking towards the end.
No, you really don't need that story.
They kind of just cut them out and just focus on the three initial crooks or whatever. You know, but I'm really glad she's there, though, because she adds this flavor that I kind of enjoy. That's, you know, it kept me more entertained.
I'm looking at, like, her and Olivia de Havilland, and they're both, like, from, like, the same, like, time period of film. Mm-hmm. And Olivia's acting for, I think, this kind of work is it was a little too grand and over the top for me personally. But I found Anne to be very down to earth. Like, I felt she gave the most grounded performance.
You have those two crooks, and then we have our three initial bad guys, and they're wanting to rob the house as well.
They made them all look like the most stereotype, like, this will happen to you if you go down this road type of, like, after school special. Like, this movie is so campy just because the characters in it are so, like, black and white, and then on steroids. Like, she's this rich woman who is, like, lives in her own little castle and has a very kind of questionable relationship with her son, amplified all that times like a billion. And then you have these hoodlum kids.
But let's start with James Caan. James Caan, this is his debut. He is kind of the leader of this little crook pack. To me, he was giving his best Marlon Brando. He was micro-posing when he was all of his lines. He was doing all the little micro-poses. And I was like, okay, James.
You can tell that he came from exactly what you said, like that Marlon Brando school of method acting and being like that very like intense, brooding, macho. This is like in his head, he's like, I'm gonna be Stanley Kowalski. Like, that was the energy he gave, and it wasn't bad. It just was. You could tell he was green. Like, you could tell this was one, if not one of the first film roles that he had. Mm-hmm. And also, like, seeing again, Olivia's acting in this is so histrionic, and seeing the two of them go up against each other, it did not work.
This was kind of
the two of them.
Old school meets new school, like just button heads a little bit.
Right now, I am all out.
Which kind of works for the characters a little bit.
Yeah, because they're supposed to butt heads.
When he starts talking to the lady in the cage, and starts to taunt her a little bit, you get a little backstory. She sees these people as animals. And when she finds out that he's from like a downtrodden part of life, she's like, oh, like, you're the one that all my taxes go to take care of. But when she said that, I almost wanted him to win all of a sudden. I wanted him to.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what a privileged lady to, while you're still in danger, you're like, oh, you're where all my tax dollars go to feed you and take care of you. They were being awful, but she's awful in her own way as well.
Oh, she is awful. Like, again, I think that this movie could be revisited in a completely different way than it was supposed to be presented. I think that, we're not supposed to be rooting for him at all. I think we're supposed to, when she says that, I think
Totally.
we're supposed to be applauding in our heads when she says that. But in reality, it's like, well, you clearly have never lived any other type of life but the life that you have already.
Towards the end, that this guy is about the same age as her son that she clings to so much. So he's even like a little bit of a representation to me of like, well, what if I didn't smother my son? What would he become?
Well, I got the vibe that like he had a mother exactly like her, and that is why he is the way that he is. He has mommy issues, that his mommy issues come from like having someone like her and showing like how the two sides of that kind of motherly smothering. Like, you're either going to have that son that it's kind of a pet more so and eventually is going to run away, or the son that like is going to kill you one day. It's just going to straight up kill you.
I didn't find funny that Olivia de Havilland just as this privileged lady. It's like, it kind of reminds me of like these white women where it's like she's either very polite, oh please, or she's like, help! No, she's never like in between. She's either freaking the fuck out or she's like very, very performative and nice, just, to get things her way.
I feel like nuance just kind of goes out the door with this, but to be fair, she's in an elevator.
Yeah, imagine shooting this film with her. I just thought about that. That must have been a chore to be up in this cage for however many days they shot this. But throughout the main part of the film, she's just stuck in that cage.
Right, exactly. And it's just as you said, like she's either acting like a haughty rich woman with these hoodlums, or she's just screaming for help. When I tell you, watching this, I have so many different ways I would have rewritten this.
Right, there's so much different scenarios that actually really work, and a lot of different themes that kind of pop up. You're like, ooh, that's kind of juicy, but then the result like is kind of basic.
I was thinking to myself how great this movie would have been if it was made probably 30 years earlier, or like during like the peak era of like screwball comedies. Like, if this was filmed in the perspective of like the James Caan character and his like pack, where they're like breaking in and then they bump into like Ann Southern and that other and the drunk dude, and then they're both kind of like head to head trying to rob the most, and then they don't even realize that she's up there until like something this had the makings and the bones to be a really great screwball comedy.
I could see that, because sometimes it was funny without meaning to be. So like I could totally see that.
And a lot of the great screwball comedies that time too, like My Man Godfrey, are satires of what was going on in the world at the time.
The three crooks how they took the two others hostage for a little bit, kind of, basically.
I mean, they did.
Yeah.
They basically were like, oh, cute, you think you have a plan. Guess what? We have a plan, and you are now going to help us with our plan.
They find the letter that the son left for the mom and for Olivia de Havilland, but she doesn't even know about. And they're like, ooh, a letter, where they find out that there is a safe. Because in this letter, he says, Mother, I want you to release me from your love. I want to take half the money that's mine in the safe. And I love you, but I need to move on. I need to be my own dude and just live my life. Yeah. Or else I will kill myself. He's just as dramatic as his mother. She is all distraught because she thinks that her son called earlier. She couldn't answer the phone, so he must have killed himself. Which we never find out at the end of the movie. Which is
this huge plot point never gets.
Yeah, the son
never gets a solution.
Himself. He could be he could be like in a boat full of whores somewhere. I don't fucking know. I hope he's living his best life.
Oh, same. I'm hoping he's living his best life with a nice roommate named Michael.
Okay, I got gay vibes from the son as well.
I love this point in film. During this is towards the end of the studio system, the code of Hollywood censorship code that this ruled Hollywood for like the first like 30, 40 years.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that had to do with homosexuality had to be done in a way that
So coded.
most people, completely coded. And you can see how it was starting to unravel during this time period. So having it be so in your face, but still be coded, where, you know, James Caan is reading the letter and he's like, huh, he has no girlfriend, huh? You never seen him with any girl, huh? Like,
Yes.
he's really stuck with you, huh? Like, which is like a, you know, stereotype that, you know, gay
It's like
men and their mothers
screaming at you, gay! Like,
yeah, you're like, no, it's like, like he's Jackie Hoffman and she's Reese Witherspoon, Legally Blonde too, and she's like, your son is gay. Like, just at this point, it's like, just say it. Can I just mention something real quick? What street is she living on that is that busy all the time? Because I live in New York and my street is never that busy.
Right at the beginning of the film, I was like, immediately the traffic looks so fake. Because it looked like such a side street kind of too. I'm like, that traffic looks so put there. Like those cars, like it's only like this amount, just enough for the camera to see.
Like that alone was just so funny. Where do you live?
A big issue for me is that the movie should have ended like 20 minutes in when she figures out how to open the doors to the elevator.
Yeah.
And I get that she doesn't want to fall. She doesn't want to like break her hip again. But you're also trapped in a cage until Tuesday, honey. And how high is this elevator? I mean, if you do it very carefully, you dangle from your hands a bit.
Done. When she fell out that elevator, I cackled so hard, especially because like here's the chair that's literally like right there, like in reach for her to get, and she just
she was crawling and slithering around on the floor to get help, and I was like, that hip is working good now. Look at that hip go.
I was gonna say, if you had just had hip surgery, you would not have been able to move, especially after that kind of fall. You would not have been able to move. I'm just watching and I'm like, I no.
So
yeah,
they are threatening to kill these two. They do not want these two to get out, especially because they don't want like anybody to tell on them. And it feels like they're really just messing with them. I think that these are young people who are on the brink, and I think even James Caan is kind of playing around. I mean, he's just throwing knives like nothing, like a game. And it's really his little buddy that he has such influence over that ends up stabbing the drunk to death behind the couch. I think James Caan was even shocked that they went that far.
Which I have so many thoughts about that character being, what was his name again?
Oh, the one that got stabbed is George and was stabbed by Essie.
That character is done in such a racist way. Because he is, I'm assuming he is of Hispanic or Latin-X descent. And they have him as kind of like the babbling fool sidekick of James Caan, who goes out of his way to do the killing. Like, it brings up a lot of tropes.
And just depicting him as this, like, dumb and violent and just...
violent, hoodlum who is, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, when you just go out and do it all of a sudden.
Sporadic.
Like
taking orders, really.
Yeah. Just has no control.
Raphael Campos actually did do a couple films before this. So he honestly, he might have been the better person to lead the pack in a weird way, because I feel like he just had more acting chops.
Y Roda, de 1978, en la que actuó toda una temporada como coprotagonista.
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry. I want Rhoda Morgenstern's apartment.
Well, you can't have it. She's still living in it.
No. I have a blind date with her tonight.
Oh, well, come on in. Don't take anything.
But yeah, I feel like it was uncomfortable the way he was even treated by James Caan. And yeah, I just feel like him and Jennifer Billingsley as Elaine, they did not, even as, bad people, they could have been better written, definitely. Unfortunately, after Essie kills George, I think that gives kind of James Caan kind of permission in his mind to really just let's get this done. Sade, the hustler, what ends up happening to her? Because she tries to leave, and she's out there collecting stuff.
They never. Okay, they.
Did she go anywhere? I don't remember now.
No. No. This movie has so many major plot holes that they never just like think like she's a major character in this, and then they like lock her in a closet.
Oh yeah, they just lock her in the room.
Yeah.
No.
And then we never
see
hear
her.
a peep out of her again. And then that we never know if she like. I mean, we assume obviously that they let her out. Like, yeah, there's just so many like. It's not little plot holes. It's major plot holes.
We just spent like so much time with this character. We kind of want to know
a character, as you pointed out, we didn't really necessarily need. So now that you're like, you give us her, we want to know what happens.
They were like, oh crap, we got this extra character. What do we do with her? Let's just shove her in the room and lock it. I definitely just think Ann Southern like deserved better. You deserve better, girl. I'm sorry.
Miss Southern.
Miss Southern.
Miss Southern, you deserved.
One part of the movie where I really was like, yes, it got a big old yes out of me was Olivia is out of the cage, crawling out of the front door, trying to ask for help. She's got, I forgot to mention that early in the film, she had these two little prong things that she tried to stab James Caan in the back, and they just bent over his huge back, and they just bent. Which you think, well, that sucks, you know, that's for naught. But then later in the film, she's crawling outside, and he goes to grab her, and she sticks him in the eyes, which I love that. I love that.
Speaking of like the exploitative like bodies on display, he like sticks the prongs when she tries to stab him originally in her cleavage, and that's where they stay. And then you get a good shot of her, which I, knowing Olivia de Havilland, I bet that was not her chest. That they do a full. Oh yeah, I'm sure they
a full insert shot. Yeah,
she was like, "You want to get a close up of my cleavage, of me pulling something out of my cleavage? You can get my stand-in for that."
Literally.
I guarantee you that was not her. Those were not her tits. But we see like them, like a good shot of her pulling them out, and then her poking him in both of his eyes with them, which smart.
I love that moment because it really did give me that like Jamie Lee Curtis, Neve Campbell, like get him back. Yes, he still drags her inside, but he's like blinded. He can't see. He's
like shadows. Essentially at this point.
His two lackeys are making fun of him. We're gonna go get ours and drive off. So they're off in the garage or whatever, trying to collect all of the goods. She gets back outside, and he's looking for her. He picks her up, and what I found interesting, all these cars are passing by, and he's like choking her.
Literally, they're in the front lawn, and he's like strangling her, and all these cars are just passing by, not making like we will. I've seen people stop for less in New York. Like
it's like a side street.
Like you're in whatever suburb, and you're getting fully like. And why? Like, that was comical.
And their struggle, they topple over, and his head goes into the street, and then a car comes, and which we see a quick flash of what happened to him. Randall is crushed by the wheel and weight of society. Poor Randall. Get an image of what happened to his eyes, and it's all, you know, he's all messed up and stuff. And she's freaking out still. She's like, you know, animals, crazies, crooks. She's like wailing around on the ground.
If anyone needs a reason to watch this movie, know that at one point in the movie, Dame Olivia de Havilland, classic screen icon, 2-time Academy Award winner Olivia de Havilland, looks at them and says and refers them as an animal orgy.
Your animal orgy. But yeah, at the end, the police are there, and she's screaming, wailing around, and people look very confused. It's very like the end of Baby Jane, where she's on the beach twirling, and people are like, "What? What's going on?" That, like, feels like that.
There's a crowd of people silent, just watching her as she is like Chucky's arm at the end of the first Child's Play, like just like crawling for help, and everyone just standing there like this, watching her.
The police go back, and they find the other two and arrest them before they make off with all of her goods in her car. Oh, by the end of the film, this is important. Before she gets outside, she does finally have the moment First of all, she does not want to believe that letter from her son. She's like, that
Right.
doesn't make any sense. We're so close. He would never. She is not taking it in. She was like talking about, oh, my son and my son this. And then she was like, whoa.
London, Paris, Rome. Just you and me, all the places you love.
Release me from your love. Release me from your generosity.
I'm the monster. It's me. Hi. I'm the prophet. She does take in the lesson I think the movie's trying to make her learn, which is, no, I need to let my son go.
And again, it doesn't have like, there's no stakes. Like, there's no stakes at all. Like, it would have been just interesting if this was like, there was some moment of reflection that she had that would make it like believable that she's like, I'm the drama. I made him run away. Like, there's no like point.
It just kind of comes out of nowhere. She just like rethinks to herself and is like, oh.
We never get to point B with her. Like, we're just always stuck at point A, and then we just randomly get to point B at the very, very end of the movie. And she's like, I don't know. I know in older movies there isn't always like a build up to a character change. Sometimes it's just like, yeah, they changed, that end of story. But then sometimes it's, but then in this case, it's like, well, there's so much moments we could have had of her maybe kind of like thinking about it.
You don't get to see any of it. You don't get to see. It would have been nice maybe to have one scene at the end, you know, months later, where his son maybe brings someone over for a Sunday dinner that he hasn't seen her for a while.
Right.
You can tell there's healthy boundaries now, and maybe it's the same day the elevator is getting taken out because she's all healed. It would have been like a really nice. See, we could just write a better movie. We could just keep on writing.
Honestly, I believe that.
But yeah, at the end, it's kind of more of just shock value. And look at this, you know, this, like, he's basically, like, she calls him an animal throughout the whole movie. He's like a dead animal on the street. And
Yeah.
she just gets to feel all high and mighty, like, you know, I did it. But yeah, I think the movie could have ended a lot more on a emotional level as far as what she needed to learn instead of just shock value.
Yeah, I agree. I am a lover of like bad movies, of exploitative movies, of camp film. Like, I love a good bad movie. Like, I was hoping that's what this was gonna be. Personally, I did not like love it as much as I wanted to, but there's a lot of bones. There's a lot of like bones in this script that I think
can see why this film has become somewhat of a cult classic for some people.
Same, exactly. And I think there, again, like, there's a reason why these films are so, I think they still hold in a sense, because here we are, let's see, 60 plus years later talking about it and kind of revisiting and looking at other ways that this movie could have been spun around. Talking about movies that you don't like are the best.
Yeah, because like, who wants to just agree? Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, everything, everywhere, all at once was amazing. It was, but like,
great. Yeah,
I don't even know how to talk about that movie sometimes because it's just so good and it's so vast. And
right, exactly.
This is one that is fun to kind of pick apart.
And it's interesting, kind of like now that, like, speaking of like everything everywhere, like going back to like why this genre like kind of like holds, especially in history, like it holds importance in history to show that like these great actresses of a different generation were kind of like forced to do these roles. And then you just have Michelle Yeoh, who is in her early 60s, I believe. Like,
I think so.
Something like that, like late 50s, maybe early 60s, you know, win an Academy Award and say this should prove that, you know, there's no like age limit to women. You know, it's like interesting just to see.
Yeah.
This is how, okay, if someone was like, I'm going to go in and watch Lady in a Cage, I would say, look, go in knowing it's not a great movie, but go in and have a great time and rebuild it as your own movie and see like what could have been. Because that's the fun of this to me. It's like looking at what was good, taking the little bits of it and kind of reshaping it into my own movie.
I love that. We should do a Lady in a Cage.
Lady in a Cage. I'm here for it.
I love it. This was fun.
Thank you so much for having me. Yes, we definitely should collaborate again.
I want all my viewers to go subscribe to Harlow Harlow, Cosmetics and Classics. You are killing it. You put so much effort, and follow them on Instagram. I love your reels that you've been doing are so informative, and you look so fabulous in them. I love how you match your makeup and outfits.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, doll. I will see you soon.
Can't wait.
Bye.
Mwah.
Dear workman, wherever you are, please hurry and fix everything. Please.